Hello and welcome to Always Outdoors, Part 4. Up till now, Parts 1, 2, and 3 was dealing with mistakes hunters make unknowingly. Part 4 is about situations that occur that's not caused by hunters. Right after hunting season, deer have lost about 25% of their body weight. Going into spring, they're looking for carbs, protein. And also on top of that, deer are extremely curious animals. On our ranches here in Texas, we can provide everything they need: food, water, shelter, predator control, food plots, free choice feeders, everything. And you can be sitting on 1,000 acres, but that doesn't mean anything because deer, again, are curious. They like to go see what's on the other side of the hill, just like a human would. And this is basically a survival instinct that they have, because as they go and they can travel up 3 to 4 miles. We've seen bucks that have been on our properties 3 to 4 miles away. So they know what's on our property. They know what's on adjoining ranches. And like I said, some of them we've seen up to 3 to 4 miles away. And this is kind of a survival instinct, because if something goes wrong in one area, they have another area they can go to. Now, right after spring is over, they pretty much go to their summer bedding areas. That's when they start growing their antlers. They pretty much stay in that area. They don't really roam them around much. They get in areas where there's not a lot of timber or brush that can hurt their antlers as they're growing, because they're very tender. And it's hot and the daylight's longer, and they mainly move at night. Now, if you're set up in that area, once they start moving into the fall bedding areas, you're not going to see them in that spot anymore. And typically when they start heading into the fall bedding areas, their testosterone levels have been growing. The bucks break up from being in little groups where they were at during the summer. They're trying to get the velvet off their antlers. They're aggressive against one another, and they all go their separate ways. The does, they run in collectives. And as you get closer to the rut, what happens is that the bucks are in the rut, the does are in heat, and what happens opening day, you may not see anything, because what happens is that a buck might find a doe that's in heat. And there's a misconception out there by a lot of hunters. They think that starting bow season and the bucks, the does will stay in heat for two months or more. That's not true. Most of you know what I'm talking about. They go into heat for about 24 to 36 hours. And then after that, there's a 28-day window where they're not in heat. And if they didn't get bred, they go into a heat again for another 24 to 36 hours. If they hook up with a buck, you're not going to see that buck or doe for a while, for at least 24 to 36 hours. And then after that, the buck comes back out and starts looking for another doe, which means they might show back up at your spot. These does that have been bred or haven't been bred, they run as a collective. So the ones that are not in heat and the ones that have been bred, they don't want to have anything to do with the bucks. So what happens is basically they start running from the bucks, and the bucks are going to follow the does. And that could be up to a mile away. Now you're thinking, well, it's over for me. No. There's things you can do. And we'll get into more detail on each one of them in other shows. You can set up a food plot. You can do without no needing farm equipment. There's lures that can be used. There's rattling, grunt calls. You can work those bucks back into your area, because they're constantly looking for does. And now they may go into an area where there's another buck, a dominant buck. He chases that buck out. He'll come back to you, or he may even go back to his summer bedding area looking for does. So there's nothing to worry about when it comes to that. The the other thing that you have to worry about and can completely screw up a hunting opening day is predators. Uh, it's happened to us. The weekend before opening day, we're seeing bucks. Opening day, nothing. Then what we find out is a coyote's moved in, or a pack, and they will screw everything up. They walk the deer trails. They leave their bodily fluids on the trail. They brush up against and leave scent all through the woods. And these deer, now you remember, they know all the different areas where they can go, because during the spring they've traveled everywhere. They'll go and they'll move into an area and stay there until the coyote moves out, which is usually about a week or more. We don't deal with coyotes like a lot of people do. A lot of them say they're part of the ecosystem. As far as we're concerned, they can be part of the ecosystem somewhere else, because we're digging a hole. We're not going to put up with coyotes running, spooking deer. We know what they can do when they circle back around months later, and we've seen what they do to fawns. They can wipe out a generation. My advice is get rid of them as soon as you can. Another thing you got to take into consideration is their personalities of these deer. People don't really think about that, but deer have personalities just like us. Some are dominant, some are submissive, some are aggressive, some just don't care. They just follow the lead when it comes to the does. But one of the things you got to remember, you can bump a buck, okay, and if his tail is down, a lot of times they'll come back to that area. We've seen them where they didn't get really spooked, the tails are down, and they disappeared. They don't come back. We had some that took off running with tails up. They came back later that day. So it's all based on their personalities. Another situation that can cause you not see anything on opening day is about the same time opening day occurs, acorns start falling. And we've seen this happen. Deer love acorns, red, especially the white ones, white acorns. They'll gorge in those things because they get a lot of fat and carbohydrates from them. But what you can do to help, because once they're like vacuum cleaners, once they eat them all up, or while they're eating them, they need protein too. So one of the things you can do, and again, you don't need farm equipment for this, is put in some winter rye. That's got protein, and their body tells them what they need. So while they're eating the acorns, they're looking for protein, which they'll come back to your spot because you have protein in the winter rye. Another factor that can cause things to go wrong opening day is the wind and the climate and the weather. Deer, when you get a strong wind or norther blowing in, the deer will move, or a good strong south wind. Deer will move to an area where they have shelter from that wind, and they're able to see and smell what's going on around them. We've seen that on northers that blown in. You think that the day before or that afternoon before the norther blows in, the deer up and moving, there's a drizzle and it's just prime hunting. Again, it depends on the deer. It's their personality. Some will do it, some won't. Some will wait until everything calms down and they come back out and start moving around. So keep that in mind. And one other thing, I guess, I want to reemphasize is when you're going into your blinds and or hunting or checking cameras and stuff like that, you got to look at it like you're going in when you're hunting. Okay, like I said, go in scent free. Try to avoid touching stuff. I'm not a big fan of these cover scents, but it doesn't hurt to spray yourself down with this stuff, especially if it's a hot weather and you're going to be sweating. Take as many precautions as you can. Like I said, rubber boots, I keep emphasizing that stuff is really great because it contains the foot odor, and you really don't leave any traces of human odor there. And try to avoid touching foliage and things like that. That sometimes people the week before will go in and not realize it and touch it and mess everything up. That's about it for right now. I'm going to be doing some more uploads here in a little bit, and I want to thank y'all for watching, and I'll be back again. Thanks a lot.